Good evening. On behalf of the Commissioners and staff, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you on this September 12th, 2024 City of Roseville Planning Commission meeting. Please put all electronic devices on silent at this time. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table. If you plan to speak at tonight's meeting, please complete a blue speaker card that's available on the lectern in front and return it to a staff member. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast live and replayed throughout the week on Consolidated Communications and Comcast. I will now call the meeting to order. Lupe, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Brashears.
Here.
Commissioner Covington is absent, excused. Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Randolph.
Here.
Commissioner Unidad.
Here.
Vice Chair Hagen-Jost.
Here.
And Chair Pryor.
Here.
And then these are measures that were received after the...
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lupe, may we please begin staff introductions?
Yes, good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Lupe Nelson, Recording Secretary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Speaker, Assistant City Attorney.
Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Greg Bitter, Planning Manager.
Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Derek Ogden, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Eric Singer, Associate Planner.
And good evening, Commissioners. Matt Todd, Principal Engineer.
Right. The public comment period is a time for anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the Commission, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. Next, we have the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of routine items that may be approved under one motion as recommended in staff reports. However, each item may be considered separately upon a request by the audience, the Planning Commission, or staff. Tonight's consent calendar consists of one item. Item 5.1, minutes from the August 8, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Is there anyone on the Commission or in the audience who would like to pull this item off the consent calendar for separate discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as listed?
I'll make motion. Second.
Commissioner Brashears
Randolph.
and Commissioner Randolph. The motion is approved.
Do I need a roll call?
I'll do
Sorry. Excuse me. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Hagen-Jost.
Yes.
Commissioner Unidad.
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph.
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears.
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
And Chair Pryor.
Yes. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. Before we begin, I want to review the meeting procedures. First, we will hear the staff presentation. Then I will take questions from the Commission. Then I will open the public hearing and the public comment period when the public will have an opportunity to speak. After the public has had an opportunity to speak, I will close the public comment period. The Commission may ask questions of staff. Then I will close the public hearing. Finally, the Commission will consider this item and make a decision based on the information provided in the report from staff and the testimony presented during tonight's hearing. This evening we have item 6.1. It's a request that the Planning Commission adopt the Oakleaf Estates subdivision initial study mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program and approve the tentative subdivision map and tree permit for 1010 Main Street. For the record, file number PL 230198. Eric, may we have your presentation, please?
Yes, thank you once again, Chair Pryor, fellow commissioners. The item for your consideration this evening is the Oakleaf Estates subdivision project. The project site is located on Main Street. It is east of Porter Drive in the city's infill area. It's developed with one single-family home at the southern end. The rest of the site is undeveloped with scattered oak trees, other non-protected trees, as well as fruit trees. There is an intermittent drainage feature that runs north to south along the western property line, as well as seasonal swales and wetland features. The site has a land use designation of low-density residential and a zoning designation of single-family residential, or R1. Surrounding uses include single-family dwelling units to the north, west, and east, as well as south across Main Street. The site immediately to the west, which was formerly vacant, is currently being developed with 10 new single-family homes, which was approved by this body last year. The 4.24-acre site is proposed to be subdivided into 17 residential lots. The land use designation of LDR4 allows for 4 units per acre, which means the maximum of 17 units is allowed based on the size of the parcel and existing residential general plan density of 4 units per acre. The lots will average in size around 6,700 square feet, with lots 1 and 17 being slightly larger, around 8,000 square feet. All of the lots will have a street frontage along a newly created residential street and cul-de-sac that will be accessed via Main Street to the south. The only lot still fronting Main Street will be lot number 1. All the proposed parcels do meet the city's minimum development standards for the R1 zone, and the subdivision layout and street design was reviewed by the city's engineering division and fire department to ensure adequate street widths for circulation and emergency response are being provided. Per the fire department's requirements, an emergency vehicle access has been provided at the northern end of the site over an existing access easement. The applicant has coordinated the location and dimensions of the easement with both the fire department and the property owners on Lawton Avenue where it will exit. The project also requires approval of a tree permit to remove 110 native oak trees and to encroach into the protected zone of 10 additional native oaks in preparation for future development of the site. The arborist report submitted with the project identified that of the 110 trees proposed for removal, 72 were identified as being in critical or poor health. As depicted above, the majority of the trees proposed for removal are to accommodate the future street and proposed housing locations. The applicant is proposing to retain as many trees as possible along the property lines. The applicant will also comply with the replanting and compensation requirements of the city's tree preservation ordinance. They've agreed to work with the city on adjusting the pad locations of the homes in order to preserve as many trees on site as possible. Mitigation can be completed with a combination of on-site replantings as well as a payment into the city's in lieu fee program. As mentioned in the memo provided to the PC and is also available to the public at tonight's meeting, staff has also identified 9 additional trees that can be classified as conditional removals. This would allow staff to evaluate the proposed trees closer to approval of any improvement plans to determine whether they might potentially be preserved. In terms of the environmental review of the project, an initial study leading to a mitigated negative declaration, or ISMND, was prepared for the project. The initial study found that the project could have potentially significant impacts related to biological resources in terms of protected species as well as the wetland features of the site, but would be reduced to less than significant levels with mitigation measures. A copy of the mitigation monitoring and reporting program is included as part of Exhibit A in the staff report. The ISMND was released initially for a 30-day public comment period, which began on May 30th of this year and ended June 30th. At the request of a neighbor to the proposed project, staff extended the review period by another 30 days, ending on July 30th of this year. Staff received 3 comment emails to the ISMND and provided responses as attachment 5 to the staff report. In terms of public outreach and comments, early notification of the project was posted on the Roseville Coalition of Neighborhood Associations website. The applicant held 2 separate community meetings on June 26th and July 24th of this year. Several concerns were raised at the meetings. First, neighbors were concerned about the removal of trees as well as disruption to sensitive species habitat. These issues are directly addressed in the ISMND, which requires a pre-construction nesting survey for nesting birds. Additionally, part of the tree permit conditions of approval include the mitigation requirements previously discussed on the tree permit slide. Next, neighbors voiced concern over the disruption to wetland features and how development of the parcel may affect drainage from the site. The engineering division has confirmed that the proposed drainage improvements will provide for conveyance of both on-site and off-site water and greatly reduce the potential for future flooding from 10-year storm events, according to the City of Roseville design standards. One of the adjacent parcels to the property had concerns over whether fencing would be erected along their shared property line. The applicant has agreed to erect an enhanced wood fence to address their concern. Increased traffic was another concern cited by several neighbors. As part of city staff's review, the city commissioned a traffic study by Kimley Horn and Associates that determined the increased number of vehicle trips per day was accounted for within the city's traffic demand model. The project's traffic study also analyzed site access requirements and recommended pavement striping improvements on Main Street to provide adequate stacking for westbound left-hand turns onto Porter Drive, as well as to provide a left ingress into the proposed subdivision. Lastly, some neighbors stated that they were concerned regarding the expected increased noise and diminished air quality due to the construction next to their homes. The recent grading and infrastructure work on the adjacent 1028 Main Street subdivision have amplified those concerns as well. Staff has acknowledged while there will be impacts from construction, these are temporary in nature, and standard construction monitoring measures would be in place to reduce the impacts as much as possible. In terms of tonight's meeting, notice of this hearing was published in the Press Tribune and was distributed to a 300-foot radius around the subject site, posted on Arcona's website. 2 comment emails have been received since publication of the staff report and have been provided to the commission as well as posted on the city's website and available for public consumption tonight. So in conclusion, staff finds that the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance and the general plan, and the required findings of fact can be made. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission take the actions listed on this slide, including the revisions to conditions of approval number 18 and 19 of the tentative map and condition of approval number 2 of the tree permit. Additionally, staff has recognized a duplicative condition on the tentative map approval number 23 to a previously listed condition number 12 and requests that number 23 be removed. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time?
So I do have a question, which is, in hearing what you've said, that the developer is going to try to keep as many trees as possible with all of this. Can you explain the mechanism? Who decides ultimately what measures are taken?
Sure. So realistically, we will look at every available opportunity for the developer to replant trees on site. We called out those conditional removals on the site plan as not just locations where trees might be retained, but also where trees might be replanted. Typically, this happens prior to any improvement of grading or improvement plans. Staff will work with the applicant to call out as many sites as possible that are feasible based on the improvements that they're proposing, including around, for example, the water quality basin at the south end of the site, potentially further areas along the property lines. The applicant has agreed that essentially as many trees as possible that can be replanted on site should be, the remainder of which would be paid into, again, the city's in lieu fee program, which is $118 for every inch of tree that's been removed.
I guess I'm just asking, so let's say the developer says, we got to remove this tree. And you got an arborist that maybe says, if you shift it slightly, you might be able to save this tree. I mean, ultimately, who's going to decide something like that?
Well, so the city's urban forester would weigh in on any of the proposed tree removals. But
The tree permit, the slide that shows the exhibit with the arborist report that lists out the proposed trees to be removed, that action is tonight. If you approve the tree permit, those trees are authorized to be removed.
Gotcha.
I mean, obviously, as once they start working on their improvement plans, the engineering, the fine tuning, everything, if they decide they don't need to remove one of those trees, then that's something they would probably talk to the city about. But right now, we're anticipating that the list in the tree permit, those will be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just have one quick question for engineering, maybe. The pads, how do the grades align with the existing homes? Are they about the same elevation, or?
The homes on, in the Treasure Lane?
Yes.
Yeah, those are, the pads that are being proposed are actually lower than the adjacent homes.
Okay, and then they would drain towards the street away from,
That is correct.
okay, thank you.
I do have just one question. With regard to the concerns raised about construction impacts, specifically to the noise, can you clarify construction, what the city allows for construction, timeframe on a day?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Commissioner Brashears. Typically, the hours of construction would be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on the weekends it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now, they can ask to work outside of those hours, but that's not something we would probably grant in this case because it is so close to other residences. So the noise ordinance really only allows work to occur between those hours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I will now open the public hearing. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission. State your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Rick Krauscher, and I work for Generation Communities, and I am a representative for Lenco, David and Patrick. Good evening, Chair Pryor, Commissioners, and City team. Thought I'd share a little bit about the project with you directly. Obviously, as Eric has walked through, it's 17 lots, of which has an existing home, so we're going to preserve that home. It stays in place. We're looking to build 16 new homes in the subdivision. As he stated, lot sizes are about 6,700 square feet. The homes, which, we're still going through marketing and trying to determine what the neighborhood would be, but we think it's going to be between about 1,400 to 2,400 square feet, so probably a little bit slightly smaller than the new subdivision that's being built to our west, and probably more in line with what's existing out there. And in regards to the trees, one thing I would like to add is, as a home builder, for us, any existing trees that we could keep and incorporate into the backyard, front yard as well, but that's a mature tree. They're worth their weight in gold to us, right? It makes the neighborhood more appealing. We don't have to wait for the trees to grow. So that's something that we are also looking to salvage as much as possible. And I think that's pretty much it. Any questions for us as a builder developer?
Commissioners, are there any questions for the project representative at this time? All right, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item?
No one's turned one in.
Good evening. Could you please state your name for the record? And I remind you that you have 5 minutes to
All right.
speak.
My name is William Hall. I own the 400 feet adjacent to this property, and I've worked with them quite a bit on getting this drainage problem because of these torrential rains we've been having. It's almost flooded me out. I live there also. And if they don't change anything the way they've presented it to me on their engineering, I'm fine with that. But I'm just afraid that they're not doing the drainage right. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Could I ask a question? So just to be clear, the plans that they showed you and the proposed drainage improvements, if they do those the way they showed them to you, you are comfortable. But if they change and do something different, your concern is that they'll deviate from what they've told you as they go forward. Is that
If
correct?
they don't change it, it might work. I don't know.
Don't change it from the way they showed it to you?
Yes.
Okay.
As of this date.
Okay. That's helpful. I just want to make sure I understand that. So I'll follow up with engineering on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to address the commission? Please. Would you please give your speaker card to the staff table also? Thank you. Same for Mr. Hall previously. Thank you. Good evening. Could you please
Good
state your name?
evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Cindy Pringle, and I live at 1015 Treasure Lane, which is directly behind the project that they are proposing, almost directly right in the middle of it. We have lived in our home for over 30 years, and we were always told, and I can't say who, not by anybody necessarily official, but when we bought our property, we were told that the property behind us was a protected green belt, and that property could not be developed into homes or public storage or anything like that, that the trees and the green belt back there would always remain a protected area. Now, all of a sudden, the property's been sold, and they want to build 16 homes on that property. My issue isn't that they want to put new homes on that property. Part of my issue is the number of homes that they want to put on that property. For a lot of reasons, the traffic, that part of Main Street, there's a elementary school right across the street, and Main Street is a two-way street. And I will say within the last year, traffic on Main Street has probably tripled. And just trying to get in and out of our subdivision off of 8th and Drive when school is starting is a challenge. Traffic backs up almost down to the next street sign at Vallejo. There's a lot of kids that walk past there, and I just think that it's a dangerous situation to put that much more traffic into that small of an area. They're not going to widen the street. They're going to make another turn lane, which I don't see where that helps anything. And they're going to add, if they build 16 homes plus the 10 that they've already built, that they're already building, that's 26 new homes. Each of those homes, you can safely say, would have at least 2 vehicles. That adds another large amount of traffic in a very small area. My other concern that was raised is about the building noise. When they started building the 10 new homes that they're building now, they brought in, I cannot tell you how many truckloads of dirt. They did nothing about the dust. They didn't water it down. They just came and dumped dump load after dump load after dump load of dirt. And the back of my house borders right to that property, and I wasn't even able to open my windows for all the dust coming in. They talk about the building noise. Well, since I think around the 20th of August, and still continuing at night from, I think it's 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock until 5 o'clock the next morning, they're working on Porter Street. They have jackhammers out there. They have large lights out there. There is noise, even though I shut all my windows, and I have dual pane windows in my home. Even though I shut all my windows, you can still hear the construction noise all night long. So when they say it's a small amount of time, well, maybe it would be to them, but I know, or I have a good idea of how long it's going to take them to build 16 new homes, and it's probably going to be close to a year. I don't consider that a small amount of time. I just hope that the Planning Commission will take into account the people that already live there. And again, we're not trying to be unreasonable. We're not trying to say no, because we do want new homes. Everybody knows that there's a housing shortage, not just in Roseville, but in the whole country. And we welcome new families and new homes. But I truly believe that the amount of homes that they're going to be putting in there is going to be detrimental to our small neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public?
Commissioner Pryor, real quick, ma'am, before you take your seat, a question for you on. Aye. Yes, thank you for coming tonight.
Sure.
The question on the noise that you experienced during construction. Did you call in or file a complaint or anything like that? Do we have anything on record on that noise complaint?
No, I have not done that. They haven't even started building the homes yet. This is just they're putting in, I believe, utilities and
Right.
maybe sewers and stuff. But no, I have not.
Well,
But
as
if that will
described
help,
earlier.
I certainly will.
I mean, for that, as described earlier, the city has, yes,
Yeah, we just were discussing this, and because I was unaware, but there's one thing that's different with the project that faces Porter is they are doing sewer work there, but that road is adjacent to the school. It's an existing road adjacent to the school. So I do believe they have a noise exception. They received a noise exception because the school district, wanted to make sure that there wasn't any conflicts with having the road torn up during school hours. So to make sure that traffic can flow during the day.
Gotcha.
So this site will not have that issue. This road is a brand new.
Right.
The road that will be built for this particular project will be a brand new road. There shouldn't be any reason while there's night work needed.
Okay.
For any of the infrastructure or road work. So there is a separate reason for the project at Main and Porter to have nighttime work.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Great. Thank you.
Can I offer something?
Sure.
So I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Randolph for the people who are in the public. If there is a concern that you have, the city does watch what's going on with construction, and please call the city and let them know of your concerns, and they will address it. Just want to make that clear.
Absolutely.
For issues such as dust and noise?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Anybody else from the public who would like to make a comment? Please, if you could put your speaker card at the staff table. Your name for the record, please.
Sandy Perez. I have several things I wanted to talk to you about. One of them was the noise. Nobody in our neighborhood was told that this was going to be going on in the evenings. So none of us have had a lot of sleep for quite a while. I don't call and complain because I know that you guys have to do things, but it would have been nice to give us a heads up. It would also be nice if you guys could do it on the weekend or something rather than on the evenings that we're trying to get sleep at home. Just in the future, just because you're trying to accommodate a school doesn't mean that all the people that live there aren't being kept awake all night. And also, I know that you were saying that you're trying to save trees, both of you, but when they started the Porter, trees are dying, not that they took out, but because they've dug all around them and they have a root system. So just because you're saying that you're going to try and save some trees doesn't mean that those trees will be saved. Also, when was this person checking on nesting animals and stuff? Because if it was after the Porter started, then there aren't any animals. All the animals that have been there for over, well, I moved in 77. I'm the only original owner, I think, on Treasure. So all the animals that have been back there for all these years are gone. We have no birds chirping. We have no squirrels running around. There's just all the construction noise. I didn't buy my home on this lot. I got to choose my lot. I was told this is a drainage system. There will never be homes built here. There's only going to be this home down at the end on Main Street. So I was told that in 77. You guys moved in after, and you were told that. So somebody's telling everybody something that isn't true, or somebody's changing the laws and not taking into account the people that have lived there for so long. I understand building houses. I do not understand building 2-story houses or 1.5-story houses behind 1-story houses when the 1-story houses have been there for, since 77. I don't get it. I don't want somebody looking in my yard. I chose my lot. I chose my home. I thought it was going to be my forever home, but you guys are making it to where I feel like I need to leave. With what you're doing, it's not building my house up, it's tearing me and my house down. I'm not going to get the money out of it with all that construction going on back there. How am I supposed to live? I'm retired. I can't just go out and purchase a new home. You need to think about the people that live there before you start building 16 new homes. I pay taxes. I'm here. The other thing is all that dust. We brought it up. There was a big truck with a tank for the porter part. It wasn't used. It sat there. The stuff that they're doing in the street right now is still putting dust in our homes. We can't open our doors and windows. If I get up in the morning and I dust everything, it's back within an hour. There's just a lot of dust, and there are people that still live there. And I think that you guys need to think about those people that still live there. That's all I have to say. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a few points of clarification from staff? Okay.
Yes.
So is there anything that can be done to, with concern with the dust, for dust mitigation that we require, on a daily basis, water truck kind of thing?
Yeah, they should be using a water truck out there. I can talk to our inspector, find out what's going on, and look into that more.
And then as far as this property itself, it's been zoned R1 for its entire history?
Right. Yeah, so I did look at the city records going back on previous maps, and from what I could tell, since the late 60s, it's been zoned for residential.
Okay. And then just the last thing, what we're discussing tonight and potentially taking action on has nothing to do with the homes themselves. That would be down the road. We're not looking at single-story, two-story. That's not a
correct.
decision.
R1 zone property doesn't require the homes to come before they're not a discretionary action of the city. They're allowed to come and, submit building permits. Go straight to building permits with a map, and as long as they meet all of the standards, setbacks, heights, et cetera.
Just another question that I have, because there was talk about the drainage and all of that. As I read the staff report, there are going to need to be permits from the U.S. Army Corps, the Regional Water Control, Quality Control Board, the city engineering department, all of that, to make sure that everything drains properly, correct?
Yes.
Okay, correct.
Chair, if I might, I have one other question of staff. It was based on a comment letter talking about building up to the property lines. What's the setback between the rear property lines on Treasure Lane and the homes in the subdivision, that rear yard setback?
Yeah, so from the rear property line to the home, it will need to be a 20-foot setback.
Is that pretty standard throughout the city, the 20-foot setback?
Yeah, for an R1 property, that is standard, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Usually the largest rear yard setback we have is the R1 standard. All other residential zones have smaller setbacks.
So some of the smaller lots have a
You go further west, as you go into all the new subdivisions, we see, anywhere from 20 down to 10 feet setbacks.
I recall you saying that the homes were around 6,700 square feet, the lots average
lots,
that. And
yes.
Typically, what we've seen in the past on R1 is about 60 by 100, so it's
Yeah.
like 6,000. So these are a little bit bigger lots than we've typically seen.
They're very similar, maybe even, they're very similar to the lots on Treasure.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe a little bit bigger even.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission? Could you please put your blue speaker card on the table?
As soon as I fill it out. Sorry,
Okay.
I missed that part.
No
of it.
problem. Afterwards, you can.
My name's Kathy DiCarlo, and I really just kind of want to go back on the traffic piece that we talked about. It's not like there's going to be a lot of homes going in there. Obviously, I think all of us feel that if you scale that down, maybe it will be doable. But one of the biggest things that I don't feel they're talking or thinking about is if anyone drives down Main Street knows there's the stop sign at Atkinson and there's a stop sign at Porter, and we are on 8th and right there in between. And I know everybody is very good drivers, and they always stop at stop signs, and they don't roll through them, and they've got a line of cars that are going through. We can't get out of our neighborhood now, let alone with 26 new homes coming in, right? So if you don't address the issue that we have right now, how is that going to get better, or how is that going to stay the same, or how is that not going to be affected when you add all those people in and the additional cars? That really, I know I'm not saying the number of people, but there's a situation right there that no one is really talking about. So that's one thing I want to make sure that you guys at least think about, that you go out there, you look, you see what's going on between Atkinson, Main Street, Vallejo, Porter, and our little side street right there. The other thing, and it's been mentioned, is all the wildlife that was out there. That first 10 homes that was obviously you guys already approved, it's already gone through all this rigmarole, and it's going. When we didn't even know that was happening, and we're probably the closest homes to where that is. I'm like, who at 300 feet did you tell, did you ask for input with to get any of this information that we're talking about, but we're really dealing with that first 10 homes that you guys have already approved? So to imagine that you're going to not approve this or you're going to make any changes, it's hard to, I know this is a formality that everybody has to go through, but really want you guys to consider what you've done to that little neighborhood, to that school, to what that used to be. Again, not opposed to building homes, but that's a lot of homes on a little piece of land that has always been open to the wildlife, the trees, all kinds of good things that were there that brought us to Roseville, that make people want to come. We just keep taking away. So just something to consider. And I will fill out my speaker card.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to come forward with a comment? Questions? All right. Seeing none, I will now close the public comment period. Commissioners, are there any additional questions or comments for the applicant?
Chair. For the staff, I have a question regarding the traffic because one of our residents are concerned. And you mentioned earlier that there was a traffic study done. Would you be able to enlighten us on the actual report on that and how this possible 10 or 26 additional homes would impact the traffic flow?
Yeah, we can look at that. So the traffic study was performed. When we do this, we first look at, is there a long-term effect when the project comes in? And that's based on what we're expecting in our traffic model, which sizes all our roadways. Due to it being only 16 homes that are being added, based on how those trips are calculated in the model, that's not significant enough to look at a long-term and worry about sizing. So that's not what the traffic study was looking at. It was looking at the access into the site to make sure that we could get access in and out of the site safely. And as part of that, it did look at volumes and counts of the amount of traffic that is out there. And going through that, there's about 800 cars on Main Street as of today. And this project is going to generate about 20 more cars. That's during the peak hour. And so
Again, just to make sure everybody hears this, 800 cars in the peak hour, in the AM peak hour, I think Matt is saying, and this will add 20 cars in the AM peak hour. That's not over the course of a day, but that's in the peak hour of the day.
PM, right?
PM peak hour.
PM, excuse me, PM peak.
Thank you.
Can I speak?
No, the public comment period is over at the moment.
No,
No, it's over.
It's been closed, unfortunately.
But I'm just going to say, when it comes to traffic, get a chair, go out there and sit.
There's been a traffic report completed, I believe.
Yeah, but not by sitting during peak hours.
What?
Do it the old-fashioned way. Computers weren't involved.
Commissioners, are there any other questions or comments?
Because there's going to be a kid that gets hit out there.
I have one more comment.
Please.
So in the event that, the study is saying that there will be no significant effect on traffic, and then after this project finishes and everybody has moved in, and it significantly increased traffic flow on that area in the neighborhood, what would be the liability of the city to correct it? Do they promise the residents that they will be addressed right away? Because this happened in West Roseville. There was a four-way stop there. It was being, they thought that the influx of people will be not fast enough that the four-way stop will accommodate it, but eventually in like 6 months, there was a long line on all four stops. So, but the city is taking care of it right now. Of course, it's almost done. So I want to know if how quickly can you fix it, just in case if there is a problem that arises from it, and you can tell the residents here that we assure you that if there's a great impact of traffic, we will fix it. So.
Do you? I mean, the example you're using in West Roseville, that intersection was that roadway intersection was designed as a signalized intersection. So in the traffic model, it was determined that at build out and at certain capacities, a traffic signal would need to be at the site. So it was the four-way stop was a temporary situation. And so it was always intended to have a traffic because we knew that the volumes were going to be much greater.
Correct.
Currently, so the traffic model that Matt's talking about, that was generated when the city does its general plan update. So when the general plan update was done in 2020, we look at all the land uses throughout the city. This particular site, and the roads are sized appropriately, and signals and stop signs are placed appropriately according to the city's traffic standards manuals. This particular site has been designated residential since the 60s. So there were at least 17 units. The traffic that would be generated from 17 dwelling units on this parcel have been in the city's model forever. So it's already, so that background information in how we size it, where we put our stop signs, how we figure it all out, that's been anticipated. So it's anticipated that road, for years, it's anticipated that road will have these extra trips associated with it. So there's no plan to change anything at the driveway location. So there's the circulation study is saying with these modifications, folks will be able to get in and out of the site. The overall traffic on the road isn't anticipated to have any significant impacts. So there's not going to be a significant traffic impact associated with 17 or 16 new houses.
Okay, so.
So
just
it'd be
to-
hard to say what we would do if
See. I guess I will just summarize what I'm trying to say is, what I mean is that you're pretty confident that traffic will not be significantly impacted with this.
Correct.
Project.
That's what the traffic study is. That's what the traffic study is saying, and the traffic model for the city is saying. Is saying that this site has always been anticipated, and the roadway network and the intersection designs, with the exception of the modification that we put in place to help make sure that the turning movements all work, that it's been anticipated for this site to have this amount of traffic.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Can I ask just a follow-up? Because as long as we're on traffic, I want to make sure that it's clear to everyone in the audience what it means when we do a traffic study. So 2 levels, Matt. You talked about there's the long-term traffic study, which looks at the city's traffic model at build-out and how much volume are we going to have on all of our roadways at that time period, how wide those need to be, which intersections need to be signalized, all of that. This property was included in that analysis that was done. So it's already considered in that long-term model. And as I recall, a single-family home generates about 1 p.m. peak hour trip per day and about 9 total trips a day. Is that still around the numbers?
Yeah, that's about correct.
So if we have 800 cars on Main Street during the peak hour and we're adding about 17 cars during that peak hour period, which means about 1 every 10 seconds, somewhere in that. I can't do that.
Peak hour would be 1 every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes, correct. So it's a very few number of cars during that peak period. The other part then is the short-term traffic study, which I think Kimley Horn that did the study?
That's correct.
They focused in on that study, the existing conditions that are along that roadway, and they did go out there and take counts, and they did sit and look at the traffic volumes that were on Main Street, the traffic volumes that were coming in and out of Athan and Atkins, and then looking how that flow all worked and made recommendations based on those additional vehicles and the ability for not only the site to be accessed, but how that would function with the intersections upstream and downstream of that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the study itself found that the impacts would be insignificant in the scheme of the overall volume of what's there today. Going back to looking at during the peak hour, and I'm sorry, my math was wrong, but if you have 17 cars over a 1 hour period, that's 1 every 3 or 4 minutes. That's not a lot of additional traffic during that time frame. But that's what they looked at as they went forward. Is that correct? Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have a comment regarding the notification. Many of the residents who spoke tonight said they hadn't heard of the project or the project in Porter nearby. Could you just remind us of the notification process and how that usually takes place?
Sure. We usually send out early notification, and we obviously use different neighborhood associations, but Arcona is the main their website because they link to all the different individual neighborhood associations throughout the city. I don't know if Treasure, I'm not sure which particular neighborhood association or if they're involved. I don't know if it's active in that particular area. So that would be early notification. Notification for a public hearing is a mail postcard, just like everybody received for tonight's hearing that lives within 300 feet. You'd get a mailed postcard, and we also publish a notice in the newspaper, the Roseville Press Tribune,
Okay.
at least 10 days prior to the hearing.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there are no more questions or comments from the commission, I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will move that we adopt the Oakleaf Estates subdivision initial study mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and adopt the 3 findings of fact and approve the tentative subdivision map subject to the 66 conditions of approval. Adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the tree permit subject to 20 conditions of approval, but incorporating into all of that the changes that were made in the supplement, the memorandum dated September 12th, 2024, in terms of the updated conditions of approval. And for the record, that is file number PL 23-0198.
Second.
Actually, just before we vote on that, do you want to? Would that include striking out condition, the duplicative condition 23?
It's all of the matters on this memorandum, yes.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Hagenjos has made the motion, and Commissioner Jensen has seconded the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
No.
Vice Chair Hagenjos?
Yes.
Commissioner Unidad?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
Chair Pryor?
Yes. The motion is approved. There is a 10-day appeal period for this item. Next on the agenda is Commissioner Staff Report. Are there any reports from staff?
Just quickly, we will have a couple items on the 26th. So we will have a second planning commission this month, and right now we're looking at one or two items possibly on October 10th. We don't have anything currently scheduled for October 24th, but I'll let you know in the next couple weeks. I don't think since the last time we met, we haven't had anything go to city council. We had an item, we had the well space project that you took action on, actually got bumped to the first meeting in October. So I'll be able to report back on that in a couple meetings. So that's it for tonight.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
No, I want to thank the residents that came out today to speak about the project. I'm glad you came. It was important for us to hear what those concerns are, and I think the thing that was really important, I think that the commission looked at, is this property was zoned for residential since the 60s. It wasn't in asking to be rezoned for development. It was something that it already had the rights to. So I just wanted to point that out. But I do appreciate all of you being here to speak on this.
And if I could just add to that, one of the things that I take a look at with all of this is there any substantive change being asked for the current regulatory and the rules that everybody has to undergo? This project fits within all of those rules, and as a result, that's why I vote the way I do. If they were doing something or asking us to change something that affected all of your lives that had not already been within those rules, that's a completely different situation.
If I may, on that, my no vote is not for that. I believe anybody who buys property that fits within, that's well and good. I just take issue on the tree removal piece and some of the arbitrary decisions on how some of the trees might be able to stay or go, and that being a foregone conclusion on some. And I think it is important for that, not only for the privacy of the neighbors, but because the trees are important within the area. So that's where I stand with that. I do believe we need homes in Roseville. We need affordable homes in Roseville, but we also need to protect Roseville. So that's my vote.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments? All right. May we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Brashears has made the motion, and Commissioner Jensen has seconded the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.